Sophia Negron from The Healthy Photographer, and today I have a great photographer who is a really nice guy and lots of fun, and is always my dance partner when we go to events. His name is Casey Fatchett of Casey Fatchett Photography, located here in New York City. So, welcome, Casey. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello. Casey is my partner in crime when we go to networking events. We dance together, create new dances like the photographer shuffle. So,
I'm a pretty legendary bad dancer.
yes. Well, at least you're dancing. No, there's no judgment. No judgment with the dancing. As long as you have rhythm. That's.
That's questionable.
So, I wanted to talk to you about what you've been doing because I have noticed one, you're smaller than you used to be, and and I read this really great article that you wrote about um, carrying less equipment. So, tell me a little bit about what you have been doing as far as being healthy. Maybe what kind of triggered that.
Well, there are a lot of things that triggered it. I mean, when I was younger, I was an athlete. I played football and baseball and lifted weights, and I ran all the time. And as I got older and noticed that my metabolism had slowed down considerably, I noticed I was considerably heavier. And just the way that my body is built, it's not that you necessarily notice that how significantly heavier I was. People would say things like, "Oh, well, you carry your weight well," which I don't know if that's a good thing
Yeah.
because when I started weighing myself and realizing how heavy I was, and I'd go to the doctor, and my doctor would say like, you know, you need to lose some weight, and there are any number of health issues that can arise from that. My family has a history of diabetes. My brother, my sister, my uncle, my nephew are all diabetic. And being overweight can be one of those things that just really contributes to diabetes, high blood pressure. I refer to myself as like it's like a duck on the water. I look very serene and calm, but underneath the surface, the feet are going. I'm
Right.
one of those people who stresses out internally. So my doctor said, we need to get your blood pressure down. So he said to me, like, lose 20 pounds. You need to lose 20 pounds. And that was a year and a half ago. So I set out, I would usually went to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. And what I would do, during wedding season, I was walking a lot. I would
Yeah.
just be, walk miles and miles and miles a day doing a wedding. Then I realized it was during that time period, like during the week when I was not shooting weddings, I wasn't as active unless I went to the gym or I really made a concerted effort to do something to be active.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife and I sat down and said, all right, we're going to do two things here. Two things. We're going to be more active. We're going
Mm-hmm.
to set time aside at least twice a week to just walk more.
Right.
Regardless of what's going on. Usually it was like when she was leaving for work in the morning, we'd walk just for like 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
She'd get on the train, I'd walk back home. Um, the other thing was to make sure that I went to the gym at least 3 times a week, um, continuously being more active. And the other thing was to eat better. Just very simply, eat better food. It wasn't that we were eating bad food, it was that we were eating too much of it.
Right.
But too much good food is even, like portion control, I think is, the best way to describe it. And so we just started adding more vegetables, fill up on vegetables as opposed to, protein or carbohydrates. Just having more vegetables in our diet. And in the course of the last 18 months, I've lost 55 pounds,
Wow.
which in the article you referenced, I compared that to the amount of photography gear, and I always hear people complain like, "Oh, my 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 is so heavy," and I was like, "You know how heavy it is? 3 pounds, 3.3 pounds. Get rid of lose 10 pounds, and that's three of those that you're just that
Right.
you have on your waist or on your body that you're constantly carrying around." And I would come home before losing the weight, I'd come home from a wedding and I'd just be dead.
Yeah.
My body was just physically exhausted. And now it's, I'm exhausted usually, but it's not in the same way. It's a
Right.
different,
Yeah.
different sort of tired. Yeah, my back would hurt, my feet would hurt, my feet no longer hurt. I used to have insoles in my shoes because, with those little the gel things
Uh-huh.
and I put in
Yeah.
my shoes, I was just like, oh my God, my feet just kill me. Now I can be out all day, like my feet might be tired, but they don't hurt like they used to.
Right.
Um, but one of the big things is like, I think that people are really hard on themselves when, they like set out to lose weight. Like I'm going to lose 10 pounds or I'm going to lose 20 pounds or whatever it is. Um, and so I'm going to eat better and I'm going to exercise. And they have a big meal or something, or they don't make it to the gym when they're supposed to, and they think, oh my God, I'm a failure.
Right.
There have been plenty of times where I've, especially around the holidays, where I've eaten more than I probably should have, or something that I probably
Yes.
shouldn't have eaten. Or there have been days where I didn't, get in a full, workout that I wanted to do, or wasn't as active as I probably should have been. But I don't beat myself up about it anymore. I just say, okay, well, tomorrow I got to make sure to get back on that and, not eat crap
Yeah.
and not, sit around all day.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, I got one of these, Fitbit,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of track how active I am. And I noticed on days, if I just had an engagement shoot, I had one yesterday. I noticed that during the engagement shoot, I put in 6,000 steps,
Wow.
which is for me about 3 miles. Um, that's a lot. And I
Yeah.
noticed on days, like I just wanted to kind of get a baseline for what my activity level was when I wasn't shooting. If I was just around editing all day, whatever, my daily, even just if I took my dog out for a walk one time, that was 1,600 steps.
Mm.
So like realizing like how much activity, I try to get to 10,000 every day.
Yeah.
So that means like, taking the dog out, twice a day and then, making sure that, we go for a longer walk just to make sure I get the same amount of activity
Right.
on a regular basis, like
Yeah.
more active than I was
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. And I mean, as photographers, we spend a lot of time sitting in front
Sitting,
of our
yeah.
computer. I mean, there's days where I may not even get up and I'm like, ooh, ah. I get up and I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, no, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, there's you're sitting there editing a wedding and you're like, and I've had it happen where my wife will leave in the morning and then she'll come back and say, "Did you get up at all today? Did you get out of that chair? Did you eat lunch?" Like I might have. I may have eaten lunch. Um, but now what I've done, one of the things like especially for days like that when I'm editing and I know it's going to be a day where I'm in front of the computer a lot.
Yeah.
I set alarms for myself to say, like get up, walk around, take 15 minutes, which is just like, even, whatever the regulations are that you get a 15-minute coffee break or whatever,
Right. Yeah.
wherever you work. I think photographers are horrible about that. We
Yes.
don't like to, like, we get in our zone of editing and I'm going to call this all these 2,000 photos and I'm going to do it before I do anything else. Um, so we don't get up and move our body. And
Right.
for me, I used to, it was get up and do something that was a dance break. Just get up and like turn some like music
Yep.
on and just dance around the apartment for 15 or 20 minutes and get my body moving, um, which usually drove my dog crazy. And then I'd have to take him out, which was more activity. And then,
Yeah.
then I'd be, I'd come back to do the work. I feel better and I'd actually feel like I was doing something, I was accomplishing something.
Right.
And even when I was editing, I felt better. My mind was more focused, just from getting up and moving my the rest of my body around.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I love you, Casey, because you take dance breaks.
Dance break.
Dance breaks are the best because you just put on music that you love and you just boogie. No one's
Yeah,
there. No one's there to tell you, that
no
you're
one's
doing it
judging
wrong.
you. And the thing is, like, it's just about getting up and moving. Like, it's not
Yeah.
about like you have to do like anything specific. It's just getting your body moving so
Right.
that the blood's pumping. You're burning a few calories. You don't need to do like some crazy workout, but doing 5 minutes of just jumping around and doing something is way better than sitting for 10 hours straight.
Yes.
And the other thing that I've gotten into recently is hip hop abs. So adding
Little
some
Shanti at hip hop
add
abs.
some moves to my repertoire. Um, yeah, I have the entire collection, by the way. I have every hip hop abs DVD that there is. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. He is the one thing that I was never a tape or DVD workout person.
Right.
Like if I did classes of any kind, I would go to a gym and
Take
yeah,
class.
go and do that. And even that for me was kind of hard because for me it was like this is something that's difficult. And usually, if you're working out, it should be something that's strenuous for you. Um, if somebody's yelling at me like while I'm doing that, like it was, it's not encouraging. And I
Right.
find
Right.
Shanti to be there's the maybe it's my personality, but there's an appropriate mix of humor in there that is like, he's like, oh, smile, because he's like, doesn't this feel great? And then he's like, I know it doesn't feel great. It feels terrible.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, thank you for admitting that. I'm not like yelling at me and telling me you can do 50 more of these. And it's like,
Yes.
no, you're going to get through it. It's going to be hard, but you're going to feel a lot better when you're done. So yeah, I enjoy that quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. I do him, and I also have the P90X3 with Tony Horton, who's hilarious as well. Um, yeah. Even my daughter runs around like singing and saying things that he says or does. I mean, she even with the T25, I did the T25 Focus or whatever, and my daughter made a video and like used every ism that Shanti had.
There are a lot.
there
There are
are.
a lot.
There are. And it's encouraging when he's eating donuts on Facebook.
Well, the thing is, like that's the thing. I think that people get really hard on themselves for indulging
right.
in like having dessert or eating a hamburger or whatever put in your guilty pleasure food
Yeah.
in this blank spot here. And they feel bad about it, but if you're not doing it all the time and you're consistently getting some activity, it's not going to be as bad as if you're sitting in a chair all day and
Right.
stuffing your face
Yeah.
constantly. And I think that if you get into the habit of, you know, being more active and eating at least somewhat better, you're going to see the results.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I know for me, a lot of it was the food. Um, Eating a lot more vegetables. I didn't realize how many carbs I was eating, and I don't even eat gluten. So, carbs was like corn chips or a corn tortilla or
Yeah.
rice. Even beans are actually considered a carb, even though it's a protein.
Right.
Edamames, and maybe quinoa is a carb too. So those kinds of things that you think of eating or that are easy to grab, especially someone that eats gluten. You grab a sandwich, you grab a muffin for breakfast,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
find
So
veggies are the hardest to get in for
yeah, I
me.
think that one of the things where I noticed it the most, and with those things, like yeah, chips or uh, any number of things, rice, even, it's just like, oh, it's all this rice, or pasta. Pasta was,
Yeah.
a huge thing, and especially during the winter, you know, it's a nice warm meal, and I was realizing like if we cut the amount of pasta in half and put a bunch of vegetables in there,
Mm-hmm.
we were consuming a lot less carbohydrates, even if it was, whole wheat pasta or whatever was
Right.
healthy pasta. Uh, you just putting in vegetables instead, you know, we felt a lot more full
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. And as far as like on the wedding day, how I know you said a little bit about you didn't feel as tired or run down. Um, is there anything that you do during the wedding to kind of keep your energy up, feeling good, because we're on our feet, 8, 10, 12 hours.
Well, I think that part of that is like you also have to build up your endurance. I think that was one
Mm-hmm.
of the things with walking more often and just being regularly moving around. And that was part of like the doing more walking was helping me. On the day of the wedding, I wasn't so tired,
Right.
and because even if I would go to the gym and do 45 minutes on an elliptical machine or a stair climber, that's not walking for 8 to 10 or 12 hours. It's
Right.
not the same sort of thing. So, like, in putting in more walking every day, my body was just more used to it. And
Mm-hmm.
also, as you're carrying around equipment. One of the things that I did was I invested in a different bag that I wasn't just carrying on. My wife calls me the Sherpa because I just, when we're out shopping or doing anything, she just hands me stuff and I just keep putting the bags more bags, more bags. And when I'm out shooting with clients doing engagement shoots, and the girl will have a purse or a bag or whatever, and I was like, don't worry, I can carry that. While you don't want it in the pictures, just I'll throw it on. Like, I've got 15 bags on, and carrying stuff around. Um, that was also because I was used to the weights and
Right.
whatever, like lifting weights and doing stuff, and I didn't think anything of it. But then I was just like, maybe it was because I had this shoulder bag that I carried, and I had all my equipment in it,
Yeah.
and I just had it on all day. And one of my second photographers said to me, it was much later on, like we've been working together at that point for 2 years. He's like, I remember the first wedding we did together, and you were carrying that bag, and I was like, man, that dude is a bear because it's just like he's crazy. Like he's just carrying like 40 pounds of gear on him at all times, like all throughout the wedding. Just he never puts that thing down. But I think about it, it was probably a really bad idea.
Yeah.
So I got a rolling bag that I feel that has helped as well,
Mm-hmm.
and just being smarter about. I had carpal tunnel for a while in both hands because I am silly and sometimes I'll do uh, this. I'm just grabbing a camera to show you. I shoot left-handed sometimes. Like I'll have a camera in each hand.
Oh, that's
Um,
fancy.
yeah, well, it's just like even taking a second to you might lose that moment. I wanted to have I just had the other camera available and I would shoot left-handed, but it's also an awkward position for your hand.
Yeah.
And also when you're editing and you repetitive motions. Um, and I was also a fencer at the time, so I was fencing with both hands, and my wrists just started to go like, this is not good for you. You're doing
Yeah.
way too much stuff. And my doctor said, you need to either get a brace or have surgery or do something.
Yeah.
I ended up not having surgery because I just took the time to stretch my hands and
Wow.
my wrist every day and go through a series of exercises. And I do it every day before I go to a wedding because I know that
Nice.
that camera will break your wrist eventually. And I'm really praying for the mirrorless camera, explosion for my particular brand of cameras at some point, so that I don't have such a heavy camera to
Right.
carry around.
Right.
But I've managed to work that out. That's something I would come home and my hand would be cramped up at the end of a long day, and now that's no longer an issue. And also on the day of the wedding, I tend to dance around a lot during the reception. Even while I'm taking pictures, I'm moving around and just having fun. And I feel that by kind of just letting my body go with the music and having fun is I'm more relaxed.
Right.
And I'm not my shoulders aren't up here trying to holding a lot of tension for 10 or 12 hours a day is probably another thing that was really bothering my body.
Okay. All right. So, um, th- maybe three things that you think other photographers could incorporate into their daily life to improve their shooting and being able to do long days.
I think the three things you could do would be one, walk
Mm-hmm.
more often, get your body moving, just like move every day, half an hour to an hour at least
Yeah.
every day. Get out of the chair, go for a walk, dance around, do something for at least half an hour to an hour a day. You'll feel better, and when that wedding rolls around, your body's going to be used to moving a lot more. Um, Two, definitely eat better, and like as we were saying earlier, more vegetables, less of other stuff. I think that was I was amazed at the beginning when I made that switch to more vegetables, how much weight came off very quickly.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I would say is don't get down on yourself. You're going to have setbacks. It could be water. It could be, the meal I had yesterday. It could be that I just wasn't active for a couple days, and not letting that be a true setback. And,
Right.
just saying like, okay, I'm just going to keep moving. And then, it's your body ebbs and flows. There's no way you're going to know unless you have the same routine every day for the rest of your life to
Right.
know that this is exactly what you're going to weigh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So thank you, Casey from Casey Fatchett Photography, for speaking with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And I'm Sophia Negron from The Healthy Photographer, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.